Hey, some thoughts I was thinking of. Oh, it's better if I put her in drive. Anyhow, that's not what I was thinking of. Obviously, forgot to put my truck in drive before I tried to drive. Excuse the food in my teeth. I just had a couple pieces of meat, and now I'm going to town, grab a few things. Did some butchering for tomorrow's birthday party, and now that my wife and I, we were talking over some things this morning, and we were talking about the prodigal son and pride, and how the pride is the downfall of man, and how that fits into let's see, start that over. Pride is the downfall of man, and broken and humbleness broken and humble is the only way we find Jesus. So here's how the story of the prodigal son. So what desires drove the prodigal son to treat his father despitefully and do what he did? And what feelings and emotions drove the father to treat his son as he did? So, in the prodigal son, he demands his inheritance from his father, and his father gives it to him, and the son goes out and squanders it, and that is the short version. So I'm thinking the only thing that drove his son to do that was pride, false pride. And the father, he didn't just give up on his son. That father probably loved his son immensely. And that father probably tried everything else. He probably counseled him from a young age. He was probably patient and put up with a lot of foolishness from his son, and he probably lovingly tried to show him the right way and how to do things the right way. And the son, because he was born into wealth, the son did nothing to earn any of the wealth that he enjoyed, but because he was wealthy, he became prideful, as if he was the one who earned that wealth himself. And so he thought that he deserved his inheritance right now, and he demanded it of his father. And his father probably counseled him many times and tried to slow down the youthful arrogance and pride until the son could figure things out and become wiser. But the son pushed his father to the point where his father decided that there was nothing more he could do, and the father decided that there's no other recourse now, but to give this son over to his desires and give him over to God and say, off you go, do as you wish, do as you please, and you are in God's hands now. I have tried my best and I am lost. I don't know what to do. I've been banging heads with your pride here for a long, long time, and you just I have protected you. I have protected you in your ignorance from experiencing the full repercussions of your prideful attitude, and now I need to let you go so you don't destroy me and my household, and I need to let you go. I need to let you go and experience what happens to a prideful person. And so the dad let him go. He just gave him his inheritance and he let him go, and he didn't banish him. He merely gave the young man his freedom to do as he pleased. The father removed his protection from this young man who was just bursting at the seams and battling at the walls of his cage that he did not know protected him from the real world. So this young man takes his wealth out into the real world, and he just has the grandest time of all. He's out there and he's prideful and he's boastful and he's making all kinds of friends and flashing his money around, and he feels really important because everybody's fawning over him and falling over their feet to be his buddy because he's so generous with his wealth, and he's wasteful and he's destructive. And these are all just good time friends, and they're having the greatest time of their lives hanging out with this rich young man. And then one day his money runs out. He's broke. And he wears out the welcome of his good time friends, and that doesn't take long. They're like, huh, you don't have any money? You're not getting any more money? Fine, you're done. And he is cast aside like a worn out garment by all these good time friends, and he can't find a job. Now you would think that'd be enough. Okay, you could just go back to your father and apologize, but he does not, because he is extremely prideful. And he ain't ready. He needed to first be so hungry and starving that the only job he could find, the only place he could find to live was with this hog farmer who let him live with his hogs. And he could watch the hogs and sleep with the hogs and eat with the hogs, and that was his pay. And he had to live that way long enough to where his proud spirit was broken. His pride was broken. I mean, there's nothing left to be proud of. He's a fucking pig. There's nothing in there to be proud of. And he, in his brokenness, he came to his senses. But he did not come to his senses until his pride was broken. And then this young man's like, what am I doing? I know that my father loves me. And I think that in his youthful pride before he left, this young man's mind was clouded as to the love of his father, and he did not understand how much his father loved him until his pride was broken, and then he was humbled. And in his humbleness and brokenness, his eyes were opened to the love of his father. And he says, this is dumb. What I'm doing to myself is just stupid. I'm going to go to my father, and I'm just going to beg to be a servant. The lowest servant. I don't care, because my father loves even his servants, and he treats his lowest servant far better than what I'm being treated. And I don't care about an inheritance. I had all that. I don't care about it anymore. All I want is to be in my father's presence. Even if that means that I'm his footstool and I'm the lowest of the low. I just want to be with my loving father again. Now I get it. And so he goes home, and he probably has fear, but he also has a lot of hope. And he knows, because he can remember in the past the kind of man his father was when he lived with him. And so he comes back home in his brokenness, and his father sees him coming. And his father, he had every right to be prideful and to make his son beg for mercy. And he could have put his son through everything, like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to wash up first, you can't hug me, you smell like pig shit, you're filthy, go wash up, and then you have to do this for a while to prove yourself, and then maybe you can come back in the household. No. When the father saw that his son pride was broken, and he saw that his son was coming out of humbleness to beg for forgiveness, when his father saw that his son's heart was right and he was ready to make reparations, his father lifted up his robes and sprinted to his son and engulfed him in a hug of love. And he kissed his filthy face, and he said, welcome home, son, welcome home. Because that father knew that the son was ready, and the pride had left him. That story moves me to tears almost every time I think of it. It is a powerful story. It's a story of two things, an example of two things, and one of the examples is how to deal with prideful people in your life, like the father did. I mean, the father tried to counsel the prideful person until it just was too much, and then he allowed him his freedom to experience the repercussions of his pride. But the father also, he watched from a distance, and his heart was probably breaking every day. Knowing what his son went through and was going through and was experiencing. But his father decided, he made the conscious decision to not step in. And he probably could have. He probably knew what was going on with his son, and he probably had the power to step in far before that son ended up in the pig pen. But he didn't. He chose to just hold back and keep his distance, but he kept his heart open. And when he saw that his son was repentant, he did not wait. He rushed forward. That's a great example of how to handle prideful people. And the other great example is of how each and every individual, we cannot come to Christ with pride. If you come to Christ full of pride, you will search and search and search, and he will be nowhere to be found. It's only when you're broken and you are sick and disgusted with your own sinful nature, and you come humbly to God, repentant, and then God, you won't have to seek. He will come to you. He will rush to you. Y'all have a great day.